Today, our story begins at the National Art Gallery in France, a fabulous collection of paintings dating back many hundreds of years and including thousands of old masters. So valuable are these pictures that every room in the gallery is watched by not one, but two guards. Guards whose loyalty is unquestionable. Guards who are honest, faithful, and,
How about True Blue?
But you're not... Shh! But you're not guards. You're Boris Badenov and Natasha Fatal.
Right, darling.
Well, what are you doing here?
Just waiting for you to introduce us. Come on, Natasha.
And in less time than it takes to tell, the two crooks had cut 10 old masters from their frames. Natasha quickly rolled them around Boris just as the door opened and the museum director walked in.
Ah, bonjour, Pierre, Marcel.
Bonjour, darling.
Putting on a little weight, aren't you, Pierre?
Not for long.
Where are you going?
It's time for crepe Suzette break.
Crepe Suzette break?
And I never like to keep Suzette waiting. Come on, Marcel.
And the two villains dashed out just as the director said.
Sacré bleu, mille tonnerre, and other mild French expressions. Stop them!
But he was a little too late. The two villains were already dashing through the alleys of Paris. However, the French police were not to be caught napping. I said the French police were not to be caught napping.
Huh? Oh, oui, oui. Calling all gendarmes. Calling all gendarmes. Bonsoir, messieurs.
And so, within moments, the whole area was surrounded by police.
Boris, if they find the paintings on us, we are kaput. How do we hide them?
Don't worry, Natasha.
Boris, you got fiendish plan?
When don't I got fiendish plan? Look.
Sure enough, the wily thief had wrapped the paintings in a package ready for mailing. And as his partner watched, he dropped it in the nearest pillar box.
Now how do we make our escape?
It's a snap.
And sure enough, as dozens of French gendarmes watched wide-eyed, an odd-looking couple strolled down the Rue de la Paix.
Bloom de mi tante, Henri. Look there.
He's nothing to average American tourists.
Are you sure?
Sure. Look, he's throwing away dollar bills.
He must be an American.
Besides, he obviously doesn't have the painting.
And so the two villains strolled right through the police cordon. But as the gendarmes looked more closely at the bills...
Hey, Henri.
Oui?
This is the first picture I ever see of Washington with a mustache.
No wonder he shaved it off. He looks terrible.
Could he be a counterfeit?
Hey, watch what you say about George Washington. You want to break up NATO?
Nevermore, this dollar is, how you say, the phony baloney.
And the police once again took up the chase, but too late. For a short time later, Boris and Natasha were on a jet plane heading for,
Yes, where are we headed, Boris?
To pick up the package we mailed.
Where did you address it, darling?
Think, Natasha. Who could you send $1 million package to? He'd be dumb enough to give it back.
You don't mean...
Yes, I do.
Yes, that package, which arrived at its destination a few days later, was addressed to...
Bullwinkle Moose, Frostbite Falls, Minnesota.
That's me, all righty.
You're expecting a parcel from Paris, France?
Of course not. This is a family show.
Oh, boy. Sign here.
Did you send away for anything, Bullwinkle?
Just some wallpaper samples, Rock.
Wallpaper samples?
Yeah, I've been thinking of doing over the chicken coop.
The chicken coop. Well, it looks as if Bullwinkle may have the most valuable chicken coop on Earth.
You bet. These Buff Orpingtons don't come cheap, you know.
But remember, Boris and Natasha are on their way to get the painting back, and they'll let nothing stand in their way.
Especially nothing with antlers.
Oh, be sure to see our next episode, Transatlantic Chicken, or Hens Across the Sea.
You remember King Midas? He had a gold mine at the tip of a finger. Everything he touched turned to gold. For instance, that golden statue in the corner, that was once his daughter. Yes, although it was a fabulous talent, it had its drawbacks.
Ah, wonderful. Catfish for dinner.
But no sooner did he pick it up than the catfish became a goldfish.
I've got it. I'll hire somebody to feed me.
And so he was fed by proxy, which was the name of his favorite servant.
More problems, sire.
Yes, if you please, Proxy.
This relationship lasted almost 1 week, for on the 7th day, Proxy received his wages.
What would you like, Proxy boy? A gold watch, gold tie pin? Pick it out.
Proxy settled for a gold coin. He was smart, but not smart enough, for upon receiving his pay, he stuck out a hand to thank his employer. Proxy became a fountain in King Midas' garden. Now, unknown to many people, myself included, King Midas had a son.
My boy, why is it we never spend any time together?
You think I want to wind up like Sis? No, Dad. I think it's best that I leave home.
Oblivious to his father's pleas, young Midas packed a suitcase, a golden one naturally, and left the castle in a heavy coach. Heavy because it too had been turned to gold. The boy enrolled at a large university and majored in dentistry. Every so often, he would hear from his father.
Who's the letter from?
From my dad.
How can you tell?
The envelope. It's 14 carat.
The boy studied hard and was so intent upon graduating, he failed to notice a change in himself.
Anyone have a pencil?
Here.
He took the writing instrument and it turned to gold. Not the best gold, mind you, but gold nonetheless.
The darn thing won't write. Where you get this gold pencil from?
Wasn't gold when I gave it to you.
He shrugged it off and went back to his books. As you can see, he had inherited his father's golden touch. It began in small ways, like the pencil incident, but manifested itself on graduation day.
You are not only our school valedictorian, but you got brains too, boy. It is with the utmost pride and honor that I hand you this scroll.
Oh, thank you, Dean.
The scroll changed to gold, and the dean went that way too.
Dean, speak to me. Oh, Dean, what's wrong? Oh, Dean, you look dizzy, Dean.
Aware of his dreadful legacy, but still a dentist at heart, the sorrowful young man opened up an office and went into business.
Brushed him twice a year, eh?
That's what I'd say. Oh, by the way, who put all those gold teeth in for you?
What gold teeth?
Horror of horrors, he had unknowingly transformed all the man's teeth into gold. In fact, it wasn't long before all his patients were likewise equipped.
All I wanted was an extraction, not a gold mine.
My boy, it's good to see you again.
How can you say that after what you've done to me?
What have I done? What have I done? Where have I gone wrong?
You have created a finster.
You mean monster?
I know a guy named Finster who's a monster.
They had a father and son discussion during which the boy displayed his prowess by turning various things into gold.
And now I have a good mind to touch you. Oh, dear Dad.
You do that to your own father?
Well, you did this to me, your son.
King Midas spoiled what might have been a golden opportunity by talking his offspring into visiting an old witch who lived on a hill.
Go away. I have a spell to get out by noon.
But my dad said you would de-golden touch me.
Oh, very well. Sit in a chair and I'll be right with you.
The only chair in the room was a genuine Louis XIV, the witch's pride and joy. He touched one arm. The chair was transformed into gold, and because of its sudden gaining of weight, it lunged through the floor.
Why, you little...
Oh, I tell you, an angry witch is the worst kind, so the son wasted no time in beating a hasty retreat.
If I ever lay my hands on you...
Returning to his dentist's office, the crestfallen lad pondered his fate. That's when a voice spoke from the chair.
I should like a gold filling, young man.
Sir, if I so much as touch one tooth, your entire set of teeth will turn to gold.
That's fine by me, Jack, and in return I shall tell you how to solve all your problems.
How do you know about my problems?
I've been listening to the story.
Oh,
He went to work, which simply meant that he touched one molar.
there you are. You now have a mouth full of gold.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now listen closely. Here is how you can put your golden touch to good use.
The dental office has been for rent for many, many years. You see, the boy took the stranger's advice and got out of dentistry altogether. What did he go into? Well, that's his place of business there, that little shop beside the river with the sign that says Junior Midas, locksmith. But I don't understand. What does a golden touch have to do with being a locksmith?
What's the matter? You never heard of Goldilocks?
Last time, you remember, Boris and Natasha posed as guards in a French National Art Gallery and swiped 10 old masters, each worth a fortune. Of course, the museum director was very upset. He summoned the head security officer.
They took the paintings right from under your nose.
It's a pretty big nose.
Well, you deserve a little something for this episode.
I do?
Which of these paintings do you like?
Can I have the one of the clown?
Of course you can.
What happened, Chief?
It's obvious. I was framed.
Meanwhile, Boris and Natasha had dropped the paintings into a mailbox and sauntered past the police, disguised as American tourists.
I say arrest them anyway, Henri.
Aristide, you never arrest a tourist.
Even if they steal?
Aristide, look at the prices in the store window.
They are ridiculous.
Of course. So no matter how much a tourist steals, we're bound to get it back before he leaves.
Unfortunately, Boris and Natasha weren't crooked tourists, just crooked. And so a short time later, they were zooming over the ocean to intercept their precious package of purloined paintings.
Where do we catch up with it, Boris?
Where else? Frostbite Falls, Minnesota.
Little did they know that their package had already arrived and been delivered to Bullwinkle Moose, who mistook the paintings for wallpaper samples.
I'm thinking of doing over the chicken coop. How do you like this pattern, Rock?
The Mona Lisa.
Can't say I care for that pattern. She's got kind of a sneaky smile.
Bullwinkle, these aren't wallpaper samples. Somebody sent you a mess of beautiful pictures.
Drawn by hand?
Of course not. If they were original, they'd be worth $1 million. They're just reproductions.
What good are they? They got no calendars attached to them.
Bullwinkle.
They'll do to keep the drafts out of the chicken coop.
And Bullwinkle set to work, nailing the paintings to the walls of the chicken coop.
There you are, girls, your own windproof art gallery.
But in the next few days, Rocky had bad news to report.
Look at this egg chart, Bullwinkle. Those hens just aren't laying like they used to.
It's not their fault, Rocky. It's those pictures of the Laughing Clavicle and Mona Lisa and all.
What have they got to do with it?
Well, can you do your best work with somebody looking over your shoulder all the time?
Well, maybe you're right.
I better do something about it.
Such as?
I'll whitewash the whole place, pictures and all. Oh, you're welcome, I'm sure.
And as Bullwinkle set off to find the whitewash brush, a long black car was pulling up in front of their little house.
Ooh, anybody home?
Hokey Smoke, who are you?
Allow me to introduce myself. Cerulean Blue, world's greatest art collector. And this is my secretary, Rose Madder.
Those are sure arty names, all right.
We pick nothing but the best.
Hey, haven't we met before?
You've probably seen my portrait in several galleries.
Art galleries, Boris?
Rogues galleries, Natasha.
Well, what are you doing here?
Just one of our little collecting trips, darling.
You wouldn't by chance have any old pictures around that you'd like to sell?
We pay top prices.
Up to $3.98 a piece.
$3.98?
Up to $3.98 a piece. How about that?
Come on, Mr. Blue. We may have something here for you.
And the unsuspecting Rocky led the disguised villains to the chicken coop, just in time to see Bullwinkle sloshing whitewash over the last old master. Of course, there was only one thing for Boris to do. He fainted.
Ooh.
Well, is this the end of our hero's artistic adventure? Be with us next time for Portrait of a Moose or Bullwinkle Gets the Brush.
Hi there, culture and archery fans. Today's poem is The Arrow and the Song by Longfellow. I shot a arrow into the... Ooh, my, that's smart. Well, try again. Smaller bow. I shot it through the air. It fell to earth. I know not... Oh! Boy, it's a dangerous poem. I shot a arrow into the... Oh, Faz. I chunked the arrow into the air. That's better. It fell to earth. I know not where. But when it...
You lose an arrow, Moose.
Why, yes. Did you find one?
What's it look like to you?
Looks like about 30 days. So if your feathered shaft should soar up high among the sparrows, you'll always know the final score. No hits, no runs, no arrows.
Hello again, Peabody here.
Where are we going this time, Mr. Peabody?
Vienna, Austria, where we'll meet that brilliant composer and virtuoso, Ludwig van Beethoven.
Adjusting the Wayback Machine to the year 1799, Sherman and I were quickly on our way. In no time at all, we found ourselves in a small studio where Mr. Beethoven was hard at work. But instead of composing music, he seemed to be cooking something. May I ask, sir, just what it is you're doing?
I'm baking a cake. Would you please pass the salt?
I didn't know you could cook, Mr. Beethoven.
I can't, but I'm learning. I'm going to become famous as the greatest cook in the world. Would you pass the pepper, please?
Pepper? Golly, he'll never become a great cook if he puts pepper in a cake, Mr. Peabody.
Sir, why are you cooking instead of composing?
Because I can't think of anything to compose. That's why. I've been sitting here for months and I can't get an inspiration. Work, but nothing happens. So I forget the whole thing. I become a cook. Where's the mustard?
We can't let him do this, Mr. Peabody. Think what the world would be missing.
I am thinking, Sherman, and I have a thought. Mr. Beethoven, if you would place yourself in the environment of the theme on which you are working, perhaps you might create the mood needed for inspiration.
Oh, you mean like if I am composing a symphony about the ocean, that I should go down to the ocean?
Exactly.
Well, that's a good idea.
And so saying, Beethoven grabbed his pen and paper and excitedly dashed from the room.
Good work, Mr. Peabody. As usual, you solved the problem.
I'm not too sure about that.
What do you mean?
Well, supposing Beethoven wanted to be inspired for his 5th symphony.
Gee, that's right. Where would he go?
There is only one place, and if it's where I'm thinking... Come, Sherman, we must hurry. He quickly dashed through town to one of the city's busiest corners, and there, just as I had feared, sat Ludwig van Beethoven in the middle of the street. Corner of 5th and Main.
Mr. Peabody, he'll get killed out there. We've got to save him.
Fortunately, at that moment, the signal changed, stopping the traffic long enough for us to race into the street and hustle Mr. Beethoven to safety. Just in the nick of time, I might add.
Phew, that was a close one. Are you all right, Mr. Beethoven?
Oh, I'm better than all right. Look, it worked. Being at 5th and Main inspired me to write my 5th symphony. Now I'm going to go and get an inspiration for my 4th symphony.
Where's he going?
But unfortunately, today is the 4th of July.
You don't suppose.
I not only suppose, I am quite certain. Quickly, Sherman, there's not a second to lose. We immediately rushed to the local fairgrounds where they were holding a huge 4th of July fireworks celebration.
There he is, Mr. Peabody, right in the middle of everything.
It reminded me very much of the Battle of Bunker Hill as Sherman and I darted onto the field amid the din of exploding rockets, flashing firecrackers, and fountains of fire. Fortunately, we managed to reach Mr. Beethoven and beat a hasty retreat over the back fence.
Say, this inspiration stuff is a wonderful thing, gentlemen. It works every time. Now I'm going to use this to help me write my greatest composition.
Hey, he's got one of the rockets from the fireworks display. What are you going to do with that?
I'm going to the moon so I can write my Moonlight Sonata. What else?
Oh, no!
Grab him, Sherman! But before we could get close to him, Mr. Beethoven lit the rocket and roared up into the sky. Needless to say, he didn't quite make it to the moon.
Whee! I made it! Say now, you aren't going to believe this, but you know there's 2 fellas back on Earth. They look just like you 2 gentlemen.
I hate to say this, Ludwig, but this is the Earth, and we are those 2 fellows.
You mean I didn't make it to the moon?
Hardly.
Oh, that's a shame. I don't think I could stand another trip like that.
Oh, you won't have to, sir. I'm sure I can inspire you to write your Moonlight Sonata without your going to the moon.
You can? How?
Well, what do you think of when you think of the moon?
Well, everybody says the moon is made of cheese, so I think of cheese.
Good. That will do the trick. By simply surrounding the great master with cheeses, he was able to compose the beautiful Moonlight Sonata.
I'll bet that made him happy.
Oh, yes. So delighted, in fact, that he even named his first son after a cheese.
A cheese, Mr. Peabody?
Why, yes. He called him Franz Beethoven. Naturally, he later on became an orchestra conductor known as, can I say it, Lieder Kranz.
World is still buzzing over the shocking theft by Boris and Natasha of 10 old masters from a French museum and their subsequent disappearance.
But it's impossible. How could a picture drop out of sight so quick?
Oh, I don't know. Remember the horn blows at midnight?
Yes, that's right.
Several painters offered to paint new pictures, but that didn't work out either.
No, it's too expensive.
What could be more expensive than the 10 paintings?
10 painters at time and a half.
Oh.
The matter even came up on the floor of the U.S. Congress.
It's an outrage. It's regrettable.
It's a communist plot.
Sir, why do you think it's a communist plot?
I think everything's a communist plot.
Well, little as they say, did they know that those paintings at that very moment were hung in a chicken coop in Frostbite Falls, Minnesota, where our hero, Bullwinkle Moose, had just covered the last one with whitewash.
Yeah, the hens couldn't work with people looking over their shoulders. All right, girls, back to work.
Well, the hens may have been happy, but there was somebody who was definitely not. An art dealer named Cerulean Blue.
Or as we know him, Boris Badenov.
You whitewashed every square inch of canvas.
Yeah, most of the round inches, too.
Ooh.
He fainted.
What's the matter? He never been in a warm chicken coop before?
Mr. Blue was going to buy those old pictures you painted over.
For how much?
$3.98 apiece.
Up to $3.98 apiece.
Wowee! Well, you wait a second. I'll scrape this whitewash stuff off with this steel wool, and then we'll...
No!
There he goes again.
But in a little while, Boris was his old evil self again.
Tell me, Mr. Blue, why don't you want Bullwinkle to scrape off the whitewash?
Because it'll ruin the valuable painting.
What valuable painting?
Uh-oh, think fast, darling.
This valuable painting.
You mean my whitewash job?
Whitewash my foot.
Okay, if you insist.
No, wait, Bullwinkle. He means he thinks this is a good painting.
I know it's a masterpiece. I'll buy it.
Very smart, Boris.
You think you're dealing with kids or something?
I don't know. How much you offering?
I'll go top dollar. $3.98.
Wait a minute.
Don't interrupt. What were you going to say?
I was going to say
Now, wait. If the painting's worth anything at all, it's got to be worth more than $3.98.
Okay, you got me over a barrel. Make it an even $4.
I think we ought to sleep on it, Bullwinkle.
And so our heroes took the whitewash masterpieces and retired to their small cottage, while Boris and Natasha fumed in the car outside.
What you doing, Boris?
You heard the man? I'm fuming.
That's fuming?
You got a better idea how to fume?
Who you calling, Rock?
I'm calling the art museums. They'll tell us if you're a great painter or not.
Art Museum, good afternoon.
Say, can you come out and look at a painting?
Why should I? I've hundreds to look at right here.
Yeah, but we think we got a brand new old master here in Frostbite Falls.
True.
Well, that's a little different. I'll be right out. And one word of caution.
Yeah?
Let's keep this thing a secret, shall we? Just between us art lovers.
Sure.
Well, it was obvious the museum director didn't know the Frostbite Falls phone system, for everybody in town was listening in on the party line, including Boris Badenov.
And I always listen to party line.
How come?
The party line is my country's answer to the thinking man's filter.
Well, it looks as if Boris's plan has gone askew.
Gesundheit.
We'll find out more in Bullwinkle Busts a Brush or The Cleft Palate.